victory that is as well. The first win of the season for Hyundai.
And with me today, you will probably know her. You'll have seen her on social media presenting various rallies over the last few years. We have Sam Coleman with us today. Thank you for joining us today. Sam, how are you?
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. I would love to say that I'm great. However, I have just got home late last night back to the UK from Portugal, and it's just not the same. It's just not hitting the same.
It's really not, no. I'm sulking myself, but for a very different reason, if I'm honest. I wasn't in Portugal. I was hoping for a really good event, so I'm one of these that does the predictor app just for a little bit of fun, and I was on such a good result till the second to last stage, and it blew it out. So I've gone from like about 100 and odd points down to about 30, all because of poor Seb's puncture. I'm gutted for me, and I'm gutted for him, but we'll get on to that. Really,
I know the highs and lows of rallying. I can't even imagine how poor Ogier was feeling after that.
Well, by the looks of his drive, angry. He wasn't best pleased, was he? I mean,
I would be.
Yeah, I mean, he's a professional and he will come back. At the start of the year, he came back with a slightly more reduced program than he did in 25. And I was curious, what is the minimum number of events he can do and still win the championship? This is Ogier. He's going for what? Is it 10th, isn't it now?
I'm not sure on that one. I really fell for him for this one because this alone for Portugal, he was heading towards a record 8th Portugal win. So to have that puncture on the penultimate stage, I can't even imagine. And I was speaking to a friend who was co-driving, and Portugal is apparently one of the toughest in the calendar. It's the most rewarding and satisfying to get to that finish line. But that finish line seems a long way off when you're there for the week. So to know that and then know that he's suffered that, or you just think, when you're a competitor yourself as well, you feel that, don't you? You know what it's like from a whole different ball game.
Yeah, and I've had it myself. We had a bonnet come up on one event, smashed the screen, had to get out, had to try and put it again. But kind of ruined the event for us. And it's gutting. It's absolutely gutted. But as bad as it was for Seb, and we'll come back to Toyota in a bit. I want to do that in a bit. But as bad as it was for Seb, I just, my heart breaks for Ford, for M Sport. They're just not having the best time of it at the moment. And in particular, Josh, he has had a lot of pressure coming into his second year in the WRC and as technical lead driver. But he's been constantly outperformed by John, and he's had the worst of luck on almost every event now so far in this season. And we're very nearly halfway through. So he's having such a poor season. I really felt for him on this event. Yes, he made some mistakes. But then obviously we got to the final stage, the super special, where he just was a passenger. There was absolutely nothing he could do. It was just a mud bath.
The conditions, the way that changed throughout the week was unbelievable. I mean, obviously I was out there. I was 3 hours away from Porto, but still the rain came down like nothing I've ever seen before. So I can't even imagine what it was like driving in those conditions, having it been so dusty and so dry one minute, and then it being such a mud bath. I was watching it thinking, oh, is this heading our way? You know, when you're preempting, getting away from the pool and getting inside, because those conditions came so abruptly. It's already a challenging event. So to have that kind of weather in there as well, tyre choice was a huge thing. It just goes back to show, doesn't it, how much of a difference tyre choice and tyre management can make on an event like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was two totally different events for the first day and a half or so to what came afterwards. It was amazing that they could even manage to get through at all. I think it was Taka that compared it to a bit like Safari, actually, in the way that the stage conditions.
Really?
It was nuts. I mean, I was encouraged by the fact that early doors, the Ford lads seemed to have quite a decent amount of pace. At one point, Josh almost got a stage win. He was certainly the fastest Rally 1, but it was taken away by Robert Verves a little bit later on, which is a crying shame. That would have been great. After the weekend that he had, if he'd have managed to at least come away with the stage win, that would have done his confidence the world. Well, it would have helped. But he didn't even manage to get that. I really feel for him. I really do. Because he's now in a situation where he's done half the year, pretty much. And he's just getting nowhere. What else can he do to change things for himself? How can he get something out of this year?
It's incredibly difficult as well. And like we all know as competitors, the ups and downs of motorsport, you have a few bad events and then that good event picks you right back up and then you're ready for the rest of the season. But when it is just all negative, it gets so disheartening, and trying to build yourself back up again for a new event or the next stage or whatever it is, it's really, really difficult to stay in that positive mindset and that positive viewpoint of it all, because you just get so fed up, don't you? So yeah, I really, really feel for them. They need something good. They need a bit of good luck. It just seems to not be working in his favour at the minute, which is a crying shame. So whatever he's doing behind the scenes to keep himself going.
Yeah. These are professional athletes at the end of the day, and they're really good at coming back and bouncing back. But there must come a point at which, as that person, you think, I just don't know what else I can do. I put in the work in, I'm trying really hard, I'm putting a lot of effort into the pace notes to make sure they're all right, and it's still not happening for me. I hope he gets a turnaround. I don't know if he's got a favourite event of the year that's still to come that might help, but I hope for his sake that at some point he either gets a stage win or he gets a decent result. To be fair, at the start of Portugal, I thought, great, things are going well. All right, he's not going to be on for a podium or anything, but he needs to just get to the end, finish, bank a result, and then he can build on that. And it just, as soon as the weather came, that was it. It just went downhill.
The weather was so changing on Saturday. I mean, it created really deep gravel ruts. It created a really rough, second pass conditions. And there were so many different lead changes that happened over the weekend. I think there was something like 7 different changes at the front over the weekend. So it sounds like everybody has struggled with it a little bit, because to have 7 lead changes over the space of the weekend is huge. That's big.
It is, especially for modern WRC. Yeah, it is. It was really big. Everybody had an issue. It's difficult to call it day one because there was only 3 stages, wasn't there? But sort of day 1 into day 2, where they had to choose tyres before the event, almost the day before. I think every single team struggled on the hards because they just didn't have a workable setup on the hards. And every team struggled. Danny Sordo, in the Hyundai, the Fords had a bit of trouble as well on the hards. In fact, even Seb had a little bit of trouble on those hard tyres as well. And then you changed, once the weather came, it all completely changed again. Solberg, put in an amazing performance. I think it was stage 18, and he went from 4th to 1st in one stage. Epic drive. Kind of OG, actually. I'm very impressed with Solberg and the way that he's handling his first season. It's got to be said.
Yeah, I must add, it's been really good fun to watch this weekend. I think it did end up meaning a little bit more because I was out there. I was gutted I was so far away. We were going to drive up for the day, but it was a good 3 hours, and I thought, and then when I saw the weather, I was like, I'm just going to stay by the beach. The weather was better down in Algarve, definitely. So I did make the decision to stay on the beach and just watch it on my phone. But certainly on the Friday, Adrian Foreman, I think he was arguably the fastest driver at points on Friday. He was briefly leading the rally. He won the stages. He had winning pace, bless him, but really not the winning luck. Which is a shame for him, because on Friday, he was doing really well, but with the punctures and brake issues, That's kind of stopped his rally before it really got started, which is a shame. But on the Friday, he looked like he was, in for a really good weekend.
He was. And he got 5 stage wins over that event, which was really, really good. I mean, I think the only one to beat him was Ogier. In fact, I think Hyundai, generally speaking, had a very good event. Very much better than the tarmac events that we've had up to Press and Safari. It does seem they have a much stronger gravel spec than they do tarmac spec, which for the rest of the season is okay because we've only really got Japan left, and then it's exclusively gravel for the rest of the year. So I guess so long as they can maximize whatever they've got in Japan, they should be on and be able to compete for the rest of the year, which is positive. I mean, they were always there or thereabouts. If it wasn't Adrian, it was Thierry that were second, third, fourth. They were there or thereabouts, and they were all setting fairly similar pace, which was great to see after the last few events, especially obviously with Thierry crashing out in Croatia, was it, I think, or Canaries. So I'm positive for them. I do feel positive for them. I am a little bit worried that there may be some reliability issues, though. I don't know. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you noticed. So they came in. I think it was Formo came in to the end of the stage, and the engine just cut out. And he immediately restarted, so it wasn't too much of an issue. But the engine cut out, and it happened again to Thierry, I think a little bit later, a couple of stages later. They didn't seem overly worried, and it seemed to have been fixed once they went through service. But I am still a little bit concerned that the i20 is a little bit fragile. What do you reckon?
I certainly think that Hyundai desperately needed this. The first win of the season, and I think from an emotional point of view, that will have given the team a really big boost because they're not consistently faster than Toyota, but they've executed a really clean rally when they needed to. And that issue from the puncture has definitely given them that opportunity to go for it because Toyota's dominated the opening rounds. So this win, I think it'll be potentially one of their most important recent victories.
Yeah, they needed it, especially considering they were on for the win last time out. For their morale, I think it was hugely important that they closed this rally out. And I'm so pleased for them that they have. And for Thierry as well, to be fair, because as a team, he obviously leads it and he takes it on the chin when things don't go well. So to see them celebrate so hard on this win was great. I love to see that. The fact that they've got a competitive package on gravel, it must make them feel so much more happier and relieved because they can go to the second half of the season and know that they can bring things to Toyota. And maybe, just maybe, we might actually have a title fight on his hands and it might not be a clean sweep for Toyota.
Be amazing because, I mean, it just goes to show, isn't it, that as soon as the weather conditions change, it can massively affect things up at the top. Like, it can affect him throughout the whole rally. But yeah, to have those 7 different lead changes at the top throughout the weekend is crazy, really. As far as the car reliability is concerned, I don't know the answer to that. I think they have obviously had a really, really good event. I really hope that those slight engine issues aren't something that is going to affect them long term. If they didn't look worried, so I don't know what it was, but if they're not worried about it, then obviously that is good. So I'm not sure on that side of things, but yeah, certainly for the team, I think they definitely needed that.
And if Ford managed to get on the playing field as well, we might even have a couple of stages being fought down as well. I've been toying with who I would pick as my driver of the rally, and for a lot of it, I was going to pick John Armstrong, purely on the heroic effort he had to put in when his power steering failed and he had to do 35k with no power steering. He could have complained, he could have moaned, he could have been quite angry about it, and he wasn't. He just got on with it. And he's even at the end of the day still had a smile on his face. And it was a genuine heroic effort. But I actually think my driver of the rally was Sami Pajari, if I'm honest. He only got 3 stage wins, but his increase in pace, his consistency across many events now, he's in there, and he's not just making up the numbers anymore. He's a real competitor in that team, and he's holding his own. So I think for me personally, I'm going to pick Sami as my driver of the rally.
Certainly, I've seen it firsthand where power steering goes and drivers have to make it through events on no power steering. I've seen it before where a friend of mine actually pretty much at the finish line of a stage fell out the side of the car, and the co-driver had to drive the car back to the service area because they were just physically and emotionally exhausted. So I've seen firsthand what that can do to somebody. So I think that was incredibly fair play. I don't know. I really don't know on this one because there's been a few people that I think deserved a really good event, but then I think there's a few people that I'm an emotional rallier. I get involved in a story, and I really love to see people celebrating the wins, but then I also really feel for them when it doesn't go. And I think Ogier was vintage Ogier until that disaster struck on the penultimate stage. And I know the feeling where you're having a really good event, everything is great, you're fighting for that win, and then something happens that's potentially a bit out of your control and it just ends it for you. So I was quite emotionally involved in that because I just thought, oh no, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, because I get involved in the storylines of it. I always have with rallying, like in whatever I've done. The MSN Championship was prime example of that. I got so caught up in the stories of everybody and getting to know the people behind it. So I'm probably not the best one to have a driver of a rally because I get caught up in the stories.
Well, yeah, no, I must admit, I'm a fan of the sport over and above a specific person or a team T. And just like yourself, I get caught up in the stories of the sport. But I think it's just beginning to stand out is Sami for me. And the ability that he's showing out on stage is just like, well played. Well played. You could have just sort of sat there in the background and prop the team up as and when you needed, and you're not. You're going for it, and you're getting some really good results. I really don't think it's going to be long before we see Sami at the top, and that will be a story to celebrate.
Yes, absolutely. I love seeing that, especially when they don't necessarily make a huge deal about it, where people are just quietly getting on with what they're doing, become a bit of an underdog. And again, it's the stories. I do get very much caught up in that. So I hope we do. I absolutely hope that we do see him get more and more confident, get more and more bold, and then he does start ending up at the top. I think that'll be amazing to see.
Yeah, I really do. He does sort of remind me with his chilled out nature of Oyt Tanak. Actually, he's very laid back in terms of that.
I mean, when you look at the likes of like Oliver Solberg in the Rally 1 car, he looked so strong in his breakout weekend and things. I really enjoyed watching that because on the Thursday and the Friday, he looked really genuinely capable of a good win. So I thought that was very exciting to see. It felt like Portugal was the first time Solberg looked completely comfortable managing the WRC rally at the front. So I thought that was interesting. And again, like through his story and his family involvement in the WRC, I imagine that was a really proud moment for the family as well.
Yeah, because they are a very close-knit family, aren't they, the Solbergs? They win and lose together. He's had a spectacular start to his first Rally 1 season as Solberg, more than, I guess, the average Rally 1 driver would expect. You know, like Sami, for instance, who took his time learning the car. He's just gone in and won straight off the bat. And then he's had one or two events where he's not done as well. And then obviously Portugal, where he's come back. And like you say, he's managed the pitfalls quite well when things haven't gone as well. And he just seems a lot more level-headed. And he seems to suit that as well. He's really, really set fairly quickly. Be interesting to see how close he gets to the title. I'm still sort of backing Elfyn Evans for the title because he's been in so long. He still hasn't won it. He's been a very nearly man for a long time, and I want to see him get that first victory this year, and then go, do you know what? Yeah, I nailed it. Because every time we see him at stage end, he's always picking at his performance, which is great as a performance aspect, but I just want to go, I just want to see him go, yeah, I'm happy with that. I did it. I want him to get to that point where he's gone, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and like as a professional athlete, they are always going to focus on the things that you could do better. You do, don't you?
Course. Everybody
is their own worst critic. And when you're doing it at that level, you're going to pick up on those points where you could have done this better. He seems like a bit of a classic overthinker and a perfectionist in a lot of aspects. And I get that, like you have to be where he is. But I agree with you. It would be really nice to see him get to a finish and be like, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see him get to the end of one stage and just go, yeah, nailed it. Just once.
Yeah.
Just once. If nothing else, just to make Chenny happy. That's what I want to do. There were quite a lot of stories, obviously, in Rally 1 across the board that we've covered, but there was also quite a few further down in Rally 2, not Rally 2, in WRC 2, sorry. I'm so excited to see Lancia back. Really, I really am. People online I've seen say, oh, it's not really Lancia, it's Stellantis, it's just a Citroen or it's just a Peugeot. People have very, very short memories. In the very late 70s, they were taken over by Fiat. So in their heyday, through the Delta years, it was actually a Fiat company. So let's not forget that. So the fact that they are back with the Ypsilon and it's doing well, and Nicolas Greisin and Roussel are happy with the car, and they are now getting some success. It's such a great story for the sport.
Yeah, I think in general, I mean, like we've already talked about, there's quite a bit of change happening in WRC at the minute, which is quite exciting to see, because I don't know about anyone else, but being completely honest, for the last few years, I've sort of dropped off following WRC a little bit, because not that it was samey, but I didn't find it as exciting, and that's probably controversial, but I do feel like this year there is a lot of sort of newer people coming up. There are people who are gaining more and more experience, getting a little bit older, seeing things a little bit differently, and the teams are progressing, new things are happening. There's a lot of chatter behind the scenes, and it's quite exciting. I am very much looking forward to 2027, because I think that it's going to change again. And yeah, there isn't a clear winner for me, it's always making events more exciting, isn't it? When you can see things change and you can see things happening, and it sucks you in. And I don't feel like WRC has had that for a little while.
No, it hasn't. With only like two main teams fighting for the win and M Sport sort of picking up the back end of things, there isn't a lot to fight for. And I think that's one of the main things that people are constantly harking back to, like the 90s and the WRC era, where we had more teams, or like the Formula 2 era. We had a plethora of manufacturers to get behind. We don't have that at the moment. So hopefully these new regulations are geared towards getting more manufacturers in, and I hope that happens. But the fact that they've opened the doors to Rally 2 is amazing. Because like yourself, I have continued to watch the WRC over the years, but I have found myself sort of moving towards the ERC. I love the ERC. It's so entertaining. The competition is great, but it's the same melting pot of drivers and teams and manufacturers as it is WRC2 quite often. And to be able to have that melting pot next year compete with the Rally 1 boys, That's going to be so interesting, especially if the WRC 2 boys can get a win. Because at the moment, we don't know how close they're going to be. I really hope they're able to fight. I genuinely do, because that is just going to blow things out of the water and really, really make for a great season.
I like that it's another stepping stone that we've got as well, because there's been bigger and bigger leaps throughout championships over the last few years. You've seen incredibly talented BRC drivers that are winning BRC, but then that step up to WRC is just too far. I like that there's now sort of a little bit more progression, because there are some amazingly talented drivers that I've seen come through BRC that you want to see how they would do on that next platform, but it's just completely out of reach for people. So there's been something missing for a little while for those guys, because they need that next level. So it's nice that there's a bit of a stepping stone coming now as well, where they can potentially compete a little bit more easily, and then put the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we've seen our current BRC champion, Will Crichton, in the ERC, isn't it? I think he's in. Yes. And he's doing actually really well. And that's proving to be a really good stepping stone for him. I reckon it'll take a couple of years if he can manage to keep the budget for 2 seasons in that. But that could lead on to WRC2 and then potentially further. What Will has got in his favour that a lot of the British drivers don't is the support network behind him through Motorsport Ireland. We'll actually be talking to Motorsport Ireland very soon, actually. John Coyne will be coming on the show, which is amazing. We've spoken to a couple of Irish drivers over the course of this, and they all have great things to say about Motorsport Ireland and the rally academy that they run. What we don't have, though, is that in Britain. We don't have a support network that can help train our drivers and take them from a British win up into the ERC or WRC2. I think it is definitely something I think Motorsport UK could look at. As to who might fund that, I don't know. But we definitely do need to improve that pathway.
No, it's been so frustrating to watch sometimes, because there are incredibly talented drivers that I have no doubt would do amazing in that next championship up, that next step up, but the budget's just not there. And, things are getting harder. There isn't as much money in the world as there used to be. And it would be good to somehow support that, because then they've in effect got nowhere else to go. That's it. They've been BRC champion, might have won it 2 or 3 times. They've proven they've got the pace. They've proven they've got the ability. But then there's nowhere for them to go. And it's a crying shame, because I think it's then wasted talent. Yeah,
it is. And it's not just the drivers that are suffering at the moment. The BRC itself is suffering. The field in the BRC is a lot smaller than it has been. We obviously don't really have a great deal of manufacturer support across rallying at all at the moment, especially at BRC. So it's certainly not what it used to be. I know that Motorsport UK are looking at that, so hopefully there's going to be some improvement. But we definitely need to look at improving that pathway, and not just for BRC champions, but for the juniors. Because that's where our next stars will come from, the juniors. And I was particularly impressed with what they did in Portugal, actually, our WRC juniors.
Already what they're doing with the juniors, is fantastic. I mean, I did my first event in 2008, sitting alongside my dad. And back then, there wasn't the junior championships that there are now. There weren't the same kind of opportunities for the juniors. So I do think, even in, I was going to say that short space of time, it's not that short space of time anymore now. But even in the last sort of 20 years, it's done so much better, and there are so many more opportunities for the juniors, which I think is brilliant, because that was always missing. Unless your family were involved in motorsport, there wasn't really a way in. Certainly when I was a teenager growing up, my weekends were rallying. I've got a big motorsport family. So that was what my weekends were. And I would go back on to school on Monday and be absolutely buzzing with the weekend. They've all been hanging around in our local village like, what is rallying? Why do you spend time with your family on a weekend? Like, it was weird.
Yeah, I know.
Because they just didn't know. The education wasn't there. It wasn't, unless you were in our community, you didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that there are more opportunities now for those juniors to be able to come through, because, it's certainly what hasn't been there.
No, it hasn't.
I put it on my social media stories because I got so excited about it. Sad, really. I was on a lovely girly holiday in Portugal, and we'd been out for tea. We'd been to one of the local bars and stuff, and it was a sports bar, and there was TV screens across the top, and 3 of those screens were WRC Portugal. Well, I was like, oh my God, WRC Portugal's on the screens. Look at this, look at this. And the girls were like, oh, that's nice. I was like, no, but look, it's in the sports bar on the screens, because rallying doesn't go on the sports screens in pubs and stuff at home. So the fact that I was sat there having a drink and 3 screens were WRC Portugal, it was a big deal. People were watching it, people were cheering. And I loved that. It created a whole different vibe, because they were all different screens. It was different sort of aspects of the stage and the service area and things like that. Yeah. And it was amazing. Yeah. It was so good.
Yeah.
And it was being promoted. People were excited about it. And I loved that.
I've only ever seen the WRC on a screen in a pub in Britain once. That was it. And to be fair, it wasn't me that put it on either. So it wasn't like that. But I've only ever seen it on one.
Yeah, my friends are super supportive. I do stuff with supercars. I drive lorries. I do rallying, so I'm not necessarily a stereotypical girly girl. And they fully support me. So when I got excited about the fact that WRC was on TV, they got excited with me. They've been to a couple of events that I've done. A couple of the girls came to East Riding. Actually, I wasn't competing. I'd had a bit of an accident, so I wasn't able to compete. But Mark, who I sit in with, he was competing, and a couple of guys from the team were competing. So I said I was going to go. And a couple of them said, well, we'll come with you, see what it's all about. And they weren't interested in rallying as such. They didn't know the people behind it, but they got so swept up in the atmosphere at the fan zone, seeing the cars come in, chatting to people. They were like, okay, we get it. This is like a whole different world that if you don't know about it, you just don't know about it. So they were fully supportive and got excited with me about the fact that rallying had made it onto the TV.
Sure, it's nice. It's so easy to get sucked into the sport of rallying, though. We've just got to get them. We've just got to get out there and hook people into it a bit more, I think.
Yes.
Absolutely. I do wonder, actually, because I've been watching...
Absolutely.
So, as I said at the start, I've been watching Rallycross for the first time in a while, 3, 4 years or something. And they had the cross carts on. Actually. And I do wonder, maybe, because obviously karting is very famous for being your first port of call if you want to go into a racing career. I'd quite like to see those cross karts as your first port of call for rallying. For 13, 14-year-olds, that sort of thing. Get them in a little cross kart. They're nuts. Have you ever seen them? Have you seen the cross karts? Oh, they are so good. So they're sort of like little off-road things. And you just sit inside it. That's it. There's not much really else going on. Outboard, open wheel job. But they're so much fun to watch. I know for a fact my kids would absolutely have a ball if I got those into one. But that would be an amazing start at getting people into the sport of rally.
Seems to be the dust in the stage, Bex.
Yeah, it's hanging around, isn't it?
Oh, what's going on? That needs sorting out. That's a recovery truck that's been in the stage, just going through to pick up cars from earlier on.
One point I would actually like to make, which is a pretty serious one to be fair, was the recovery truck that was spotted competing on the second run of Argonhill. There's been quite a lot of funny stuff on social media about it. People saying that he'd overtaken Elfyn Evans on the stage and stuff. Rally fans are great at making jokes about stuff like this. And I suppose there is a funny aspect, but there's also a pretty damn serious aspect of how the hell that recovery truck could get onto a live stage in front of rally cars, doing 130k down the stage or whatever.
Like, I'd seen this on Facebook and thought it was a joke. I genuinely thought it was a joke at first, because I was like, there is no way something like that can happen on an event like that. There's just no way. So I thought it was a joke. And then the more I'd seen about the rally fans and us as a community putting the banter in, which is what we do, I thought there's no way this is real. And then obviously it was. And I just thought, how?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally there with you. These things shouldn't be allowed to happen. It shouldn't even be a possibility. The checks and balances that are even on all events, it shouldn't happen. And I mean, I was watching it live and I saw the dust and I immediately didn't twig that there was dust in front of Elfyn, because let's not forget, Elfyn was first on the road. He should have had a clear pass. And then out of the dust cloud came this flatbed. And I'm thinking, am I imagining this? That can't be right, surely. And obviously we just about saw it peel off and Elfyn carry on down the stage. And obviously Bex and Chenny mentioned it. And then later on socials, I saw fan footage of it. And the fan footage is even better because you can see that the recovery truck wasn't dawdling. Now, the truck itself didn't even have a car on it.
I wouldn't either, would you? If you knew that you had a... if you knew what was heading down the road behind you, would you be dawdling?
Well, the only sensible argument really is because why would you enter a live stage in front of a rally car that is on stage at speed at all? So the only possible explanation is, did you enter... that's what I mean. He can't have known that the stage was live, but then why was he going at a rate of knots down the stage? It just looked very odd. I actually thought, to be honest, it was a fan or a member of the public, should I say, that was crossing the stage. Because we have seen members of the public on live stages before. Tractors, other cars, a bus, I think, on one occasion. We've seen it before. It's not the first time. What I don't think we've ever seen is a member of the organising team on a live stage like that. I don't think that's ever happened before. And I don't get how that happens. According to an article I read on motorsport.com, they passed 3 gates, 3 controls in order to get onto that stage. So what was happening on those 3 gates? Where was the checks and balances there? And if that wasn't as bad as it actually is, it's worse, because a little bit later on, there was a support car that entered the same stage in front of Johan Roussel to go and support this recovery truck, apparently, according to the article on motorsport.com. I mean, it's bad enough you send one down or allow one to get through, but then to allow a second is just unforgivable. I don't get it. I don't understand how that's even possible.
I don't understand, because there is so much safety involved in what we do. There's so much safety involved in our sport. There has to be. What we do is very, very dangerous. So the support procedures that are in place, the safety procedures that are put in place, have to be there. And being on the organising committee for forest events, I know what goes into that. I know the ins and outs of what you've got to go through to do the okay for a car to set off competitively. You have 3 safety cars minimum that goes through. How, with all the radio points at all the junctions, how has nobody given the start line just a little bit of a heads up, like, we're not okay? I don't understand. It should not be possible. It just shouldn't. So I have so many questions on that because I do not understand how that's happened, not only once, but twice.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is. And they have been fined €15,000 as a result. And they, to be fair, they have launched their own investigation into that as to how that happened. But they've obviously entered after the safety cars and crews have gone through. Because otherwise that stage would never have started. The question is how...
And they have to launch an investigation because that it's not okay.
No, it's not.
I can't even imagine what was going through Alvin's head when he came round that corner and saw dust.
He did well not to catch him, to be honest, and bin it. And to be fair, I'm not sure he did lose 4 seconds. That was quite a long time. There's quite a lot of time. I don't think he was in the dust cloud for that long. I think he caught him fairly close to where he entered the stage and he pulled off fairly quickly too. So it was only a really short section of the stage where he had dust, but I don't think it equated to 4 seconds.
It was also incredibly lucky that it was before the change in weather conditions and that he did see dust, because after all that rain, it was just a mud bath. If he didn't see that dust and it was just wet, that could have been a lot worse.
That could have been horrific. If he'd have caught him and locked up because he'd have braked, he would have just gone in straight into the back of him. And I don't even want to imagine the mess.
No.
I mean, these rally cars are bloody strong. We know they're strong, but it would still have made one hell of a mess of that car and punted him probably off into a tree. It would have been horrendous. I'm really sad to say that wasn't the only issue that Portugal had. We've had numerous reports from drivers complaining of people standing in the wrong place. And this is so bad. There was this didn't get brought up, I don't think, on the live. And I forget whose on board I was watching at the time. I've watched a hell of a lot of motorsport this weekend. But we were on an onboard and they were going down the stage and it was wet. It was a wet stage. And I clocked somebody down a ditch so their head level was like below the level of the road, activating a camera. So what the hell are you thinking? The slightest wrong move and you have a rally car on your head. And it happened the accidents happen throughout the event. So this is highly possible. What are you thinking to stand in a place like that? And obviously recently, I'm not sure if you're aware, we've had an event in Europe where sadly a spectator has passed away in an accident. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it was a total accident. But these things, listen to the marshals. Please listen to the marshals. Just stay safe, because it's stuff like this. Accidents do happen and they will happen. It's the nature of the sport. It's just bloody dangerous. But, we can do our bit too.
Absolutely. Like I have completely mixed feelings on this, because it's so great that rallying is getting people out again. Like, getting the fans out is amazing, but we do need to listen. We lost a stage on a local event because of spectators not listening to marshals. The safety delegate deemed it unsafe to run, so we actually lost the stage because spectators wouldn't move. And I think if you're a rally fan and you're there to support rallying, you want to watch rallying, just follow the rules that are in place. It's not difficult, but it could be the difference between life or death. But then on another note, I think the fact that people are coming out and watching rallying and are supporting motorsport, I mean, the crowds looked unbelievable in Portugal.
Yeah.
I think it was noted that it was something like one of the best attended rallies on the calendar. There was a massive atmosphere around the jumps. There was classic roadside fan sections. And I think that is amazing. I bet the atmosphere was amazing. So I do think the fact that we have them spectators out again, supporting rallying, watching rallying, it must make the ones that follow the rules and do everything safely and are there to support rallying in the best way possible. For those drivers, it must be awesome. Going over that jump, seeing all them lights, seeing all them spectators cheering you on. It must be awesome, mustn't it, that feeling?
Yeah, absolutely.
I get excited just thinking about it. That atmosphere must be amazing.
Get goosebumps thinking about it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially at Faf Jump.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a box ticker. Is Faf Jump, isn't it? Like Collins Crest, I suppose. It's one of those box tickers. It is. It's really good to see people coming out and supporting the event. And it isn't the majority of fans, because most of the fans are pretty sensible and stand in sensible places. It is just a minor few. I wonder if the flush in numbers this year has kind of caught the organisers out a little bit, maybe if they weren't expecting those sorts of numbers, that it's gone top of them. But yeah, you're right. It's nice that, especially with what's coming, that if we can continue that growth, because we need it to grow. Yeah. I mean, the other thing I suppose is that, we have amazing access to our sport. We get to stand close to the action that no other sport can offer. We get access to the drivers, and we need to protect that. And if you're, if as an individual, if you're going to stand somewhere that could potentially stop a stage, that's risking that kind of level of access for everyone. Yeah. And we can't do that, because this sport is mint. It really is mint.
In the nicest way possible, for me, the people that don't want to listen to the marshals, the people that think they know better, the people that do really stupid, questionable things, in my eyes, are not real rally fans. They're not doing things to, respect our sport. They're not doing things to promote our sport. And it's very negative. So for me, they're not proper rally fans. And they can watch the live stream at home, if I'm being brutally honest, because like you say, we need to protect this. We need to protect our sport, because it is awesome. The atmosphere is amazing. The people that are involved are fantastic. You can get closer to the action than anything else. And it's had its stick over the years. People have definitely kind of poo-pooed rallying a little bit over the years, but I do think it is coming back with a newfound positivity, a newfound sort of lease of life. And we need to protect that. We want to see rallying on the TVs. We want to be able to see all these fans at these jumps. That atmosphere needs protecting. So I really, really hope that the minority do not ruin it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the support is growing from grassroots level as well. I mean, I managed to catch a little bit of the Manx, and it looked mega. It looked mega. Hopefully it continues and we grow the sport back to health again, hopefully.
Obviously, Raponian in the local forest in Copton Forest near me, I'm highly involved in the organising team of that. And this year, we actually had to increase our permit. We normally run at about 100 entries. We allowed access for 120 this year. We had to ask for a new permit to put the entries up to 130, because we had people on the reserves. And the spectators that were out were immense. The crews were amazing. And we were a little bit caught off guard by that, because I've been involved in that rally for, must be coming up 10 years now. And this year it just seemed so much bigger. We've now got other sort of other smaller organisations wanting to be a part of it. Now, I don't know where it's come from, because we didn't particularly do anything different this year. It just seemed to find us. And it's been amazing, but it caught us off guard a little bit this year. It just seemed to be a whole new, bigger event. And it was so good to see so many families out. There was kids coming through the service area with the parents and stuff wanting to see the cars. There was people asking questions, which I thought was amazing. And I loved that. We've not had that for a few years. And it took me back to my childhood of, going out with my mum and dad watching rallies. And I thought it was so good that there was that kind of access to it. So I don't know what's happening this year, but like you say, even the grassroots rallying is becoming bigger, more popular, and getting people noticing it, I suppose.
I mean, to be honest, Raponi and Malton have been two of my favourite rallies anyway. I'm from up here as well, so they're kind of my local events.
Well done, good answer.
And they are. They remind me quite a lot of the cartel from back in the day. that sort of thing, in the Mintex, I think it was. It's those proper Yorkshire rallies, and it's probably that's attracted the extra attention. The rallies are run very well, and the entry field is great. So it's potentially that, and hopefully that's a good sign for the future, and it just continues to grow. Did you not have a point about Hyundai before we finish?
Yes, so this is a bit of a talking point, and it might get people talking. So we'll see what happens. But heading into Japan, for me, I think it's a bit of a debate that I've seen happening on social media, and I am intrigued as to what people think. But can Hyundai build on this win from Portugal, or was it more Toyota losing the rally rather than Hyundai winning it? I'm very excited to see what happens in Japan on that one.
Okay, well, I've got my thoughts on that, but I'm interested to find out what your thoughts are on that first.
Again, it's about the stories. I love that Hyundai had this for the team. Like we said at the beginning, they needed this. They really did. And they have the pace. They have that there. Yes, okay, Toyota had some bad luck. But I do think it's probably given them a boost that they needed. For Hyundai, I definitely think that it might have given them more of a taste to head into Japan knowing that they can do it. So whether they will push harder, whether it's sort of put Toyota in a position where they think, oh, I don't know. I am excited to see. I really want Hyundai to be able to continue this success. I think it'll make Toyota push harder. But I also really don't want this bad luck to keep happening, because that must have been awful from a competitor point of view for Ogier. It must have been horrific.
Yeah. I don't think Toyota necessarily lost the rally. They didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. He basically had a rock in the racing line, and it was just a rock on the racing line that he couldn't avoid, and that's rallying. So I don't think Toyota did anything wrong, and I don't think they lost the rally. But more importantly, Hyundai were there or thereabouts, and they were there all the way through the rally. So as much as they inherited the win, I don't see it as that much of a gift. Both Formo and Neuville both nearly led the rally. In fact, Formo did lead the rally at one point.
He did.
So I think as much as they've inherited the win this time around, I think that just evens the balance from the accident that Neuville had last time out. So I think that's just the rally gods just evening out the playing field. I think in terms of Japan, I think we're going to go back to as we were. I think Hyundai are basically going to have it handed to them by Toyota. However, the rest of the season is gravel. And I think the progress that they've made this time out in Portugal that's when we're going to see them bring the fight back to Toyota. I think so. Basically, I think Japan's going to be a bit of an anomaly going forwards, and then the rest of the season we're going to have a title fight, I hope.
Like we've said, I don't think Toyota lost the rally because of anything that anybody did wrong. That's absolutely what they did, still lose the rally. So yeah, I am excited. I think hopefully we will have a championship battle, because they both have solid cars, they both have solid drivers, both teams have the chance to really push for that next level. And it has been a little bit up and down over the last few events, so I am intrigued as to what will happen in Japan.
Absolutely. And I want to see Adrian Formeau do well as well. You know, he's been setting some really good times, some fastest stage times. I think the next step is for him to get his first maiden win with them. It's coming, and I'd love to see it happen this year for him. I'm really behind Adrian. I really like the guy. He's got a little bit too serious for me since joining Hyundai, to be fair, but I want to see him joke again.
But then it's obviously working for him, because Friday at Portugal, he showed that. He set that pace, and it's obviously working for him.
Yeah. I just want to see a bit more shake and bake at the end of the stages. I want to see him having some fun again. As much as obviously I want to see the pace, I want to see that side of it.
Well, we're all about the banter, aren't we? That is what our community is.
Exactly.
As much as I love the actual competing side, I love the competitive nature of the sport. I love getting in the car, doing my belts up and getting onto, any kind of stage. I love a forest event, but that banter in the service area where you can have that laugh with your fellow competitors. We're a small community. Yes, we support each other, but I love the banter. That is first and foremost to me what I miss when I'm not actively competing. It's definitely the banter. So I love seeing that, like you say, amongst the big lads as well. I think it's just good fun because that to me has always been what rally's about.
That's brilliant. Right. I think that's pretty much a great place to end. Thank you very much, Sam, for joining us. And you'll be back, I'm sure, very soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all of our social accounts at TMFpod23 and check out our website at www.themotorsportfiles.com. That's it for us today. Thanks once again, Sam, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you for having me.